Hello, listeners. I still don't fully know how I open these episodes. I'm Liv. This is Michaela.
Hi.
Doesn't she sound thrilled to be here?
It's Sunday.
And we are here with another episode of Hermes Historia, which we missed an entire month of them because I moved across the country and Michaela, is like off getting an education. It's benefiting the show. That's what matters. Your Greek is
This is true.
just going to be so good.
One of these days.
But now we are back. We're trying to get back into a regular schedule. So naturally we started like the week before Christmas because that's the right time to get back into a schedule, especially when you have ADHD. It's perfect timing if I'm being honest and not at all facetious. But here we are. I'm excited about this episode. She and I have been talking for the last hour and a half straight, so we're already a little loopy, and I am so ready to hear what you have for us this week, Michaela.
This week I had.
Is it
Krampus?
No, sorry.
I love Krampus. Though.
It wouldn't. I know, but
I do.
It couldn't. It wouldn't be Krampus.
He can come by my place anytime he wants, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But this, I had two prepared for November, but then we were busy. So this one
we'll
now
get to them,
is
right? Great.
Oh yeah. Well, this is going to be one of them. We're just not going to do the other one. I'm just going to save that for January.
Perfect. That's what I meant. Yeah, that's what we want.
Yeah.
Just push it on to the future.
It'll come. This one is a Christmas gift to me. And I guess everyone else, but it's mostly for me.
I've got my guess. But I don't know how to drill down my guess because we couldn't do.
You could write it down on a piece of paper and I
No.
tell you, oh.
I just mean my guess is so wide ranging that it couldn't be just one episode. So
no, but it could be beginnings.
Yeah. I'm ready.
This one also you are it's less gonna be me telling you so much about it's gonna be a conversation, you and me. And it's gonna end with the present. And it's so much fun.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about Homer.
Oh, not Alcibiades. Okay.
No, not him. No.
Well, that's what I thought based on your reaction, but fine.
Well,
have you
find
stopped your love for him?
I never.
Okay.
God, I love that.
I know. That's why I thought it was going to be him because he was a Christmas gift for you.
He's
so
such
I thought
an
naturally
idiot.
that's Alcibiades.
Well, spoilers. So, we're going to talk about Homeric tradition, and its reception within antiquity.
Oh, got it.
Yes.
Oh, that's fun.
And there is a reason to this, and it will come at the end, and that is the present. The present is at the end. You must stick around.
Is it present in both forms of the word?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I mean,
you
present
know what?
Like now, and also present like a gift.
It's Sunday. I don't understand you.
I mean, the English is weird. Go ahead.
Homer is a pretty big deal. And the Homeric tradition is a pretty big deal.
That's just the first line. Homer is a pretty big deal.
He's a big deal. I gotta get myself started somewhere.
Maybe you've heard of him. He's a pretty big deal.
The thing with Homer that I like to...
Homer is a pretty big deal.
Sorry. Homer, have you heard of him? Pretty chill dude. So Homer was, the thing that I think about a lot is he was often like, almost like a history book to the ancient Greeks. This was where they came from.
Yeah.
And
it was also like all they had as a history. Mm-hmm. So like, imagine,
it was a way to understand their place within, like the wider Mediterranean world, and also where a lot of their cultural morals came from. So it's
good and bad.
Arete. How do you even translate arete? I have conversations with my Greek professor, and I'm like, can I just put arete? And she was like, then how do I know if you know the word? I'm like, but it's untranslatable. She's like, just put excellence and be done with it. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to, because it's so much more than that. It's a cultural concept that is not easily translatable. Anyway,
that sounds like, I mean, because I don't know enough Greek, but it sounds like if I was to try to fully explain Xenia.
Yeah.
Like it's just in English, you'll never fully understand it. Like we cannot fully comprehend the weight of Xenia. Yeah.
And there's stuff like that in the English language too that is hard to translate into other languages.
Yeah.
and it's true. Any
language is so
language.
contextual. Yeah.
Yeah, and language is so tied to culture. So it's why it's nice to read things in their original text, but I also understand that it's a huge barrier for some people.
Some of us aren't, don't just get A+ on all of our Greek exams.
I don't know how I do it. Okay.
Well,
I go in without studying.
No, every time she tells me this, every time she says, Liv, oh my gosh, I just did my Greek exam. I didn't get to study at all. I finished it in about a third of the time, and also
I got 100%.
2 days later, I got 100%.
That happened once.
Your life is so difficult, Michaela. You have so much trouble learning.
To be fair, I'm a year ahead in Latin, so I understand the grammar.
Oh, to be fair, you're a year ahead in Latin.
Anyway, so for Homer, it was an artificial story that was constructed through a long oral tradition until it was put down to words. So this is, it's nebulous. You've talked about this.
And I mean, Homer as a concept is nebulous.
Oh God, was he one guy? Was he many guys? Was he people? Who was he? He was a dude. He was
this fine fellow with a nice face.
He was just a head.
I honestly I don't believe that Homer was one real guy, but I'm holding a little statue up for Michaela now. You can't.
That's helpful.
But if I don't believe that he was, but I still have like a real attachment to the like bust that we know of as Homer today. He looks like a guy I would like to listen to. I would like to listen to him tell a story with his like plucking at his lyre.
So the Homer's tales were also an important part of education for the people of Greece, as it was something, your children, the upper class men would read and study.
You mean the girls weren't allowed?
No, women aren't allowed to be smart. Are you kidding?
Well, no. You phrased that poorly, Michaela. The issue is not that they're not allowed to be smart. It's that women have no brains within their little heads. They need to just save all of their energy for the loom.
Women are glorified children that need to be cared and led.
Stay inside the house where you won't get into any trouble.
At least you're avoiding the sun, and we all know the sun is evil. Except for that, it gives you vitamin D. Well, so it makes you happy, but it will kill you.
But yeah.
Anyway,
this is coming from one of us who's better at sunscreen. Fine, just always showing off,
dude.
Better at sunscreen, evil. Really good at ancient Greek, a year ahead in Latin. We get it, Michaela.
Never had a sunburn in my life.
Well,
even when I wasn't.
You're not a white lady, so
my skin.
You win this one, not any other one.
This is true.
White people win everything except the war against the sun.
Oh my God, I love it. So another fun thing is people often found ways to tie their own family to figures from Homer and myth in general. I think we were talking about it in the divination one, where like divinatory sort of families would be like, we come from Tiresias, and blah 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 blah. This happened.
Well, my name is Alexandra, so naturally, Paris, Alexandros, is my ancestor. Like I don't know how else to tell you.
Alex.
No, not Big Al. No, not Big Al. Alexandros, and not that he was a particularly cool guy to be connected to, but he was more interesting than Big Al.
Yeah. Was he? Yeah.
I mean, I think so because he was fictional.
This is
because I think Homeric storytelling is always more interesting than history, but like whatever.
That's so fair. I just find it a continually fascinating man because I don't think he had a plan.
What did you? Sorry, this is a divergence for the listeners, as if this whole episode isn't. But
sorry.
to you all, we're recording this right after our episode Battle of the Bastards. It would have come out probably, I don't know, last week or the week before when this does. So you can get a better sense of why this is the way it is. But I will just pull back to, you recently sent an email to one of your profs that included me. We won't get into the details on this, but I need you to remind me what you called Alexander the Great.
Alex the Okay.
Yes, thank you. The way she wrote this episode, and it was, to her prof, who she clearly had a great relationship with, and it was just one of the most joyful things to be like CC'd on, because she just had this like incredibly intellectual and like highbrow things to say about like the historical record and all of this, but then amongst that she just said Alex the okay, as if it was fully interchangeable. And I needed the listeners to know that.
That's life, man.
Yeah.
He was pretty okay. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to call him great.
You were correct.
Thank you.
I just appreciate the casual nature with which you will call him Alex the okay and expect that everyone understands what you're talking about.
So I don't know how much you've actually talked about the oral tradition as a practice.
I've had very intelligent guests come and do that for me.
So it's a difficult thing to trace, not least because, you know, we don't have any actual
because it's the oral
source
tradition
for the you know,
it's like saying the mystery cults are just so mysterious. Like, yeah, that was the point.
I think the biggest thing when you are trying to oh god, I'm putting on chapstick like a man. I can't do that.
No, you got to do the just full. Yeah, that's how they do it. Yeah.
Anyways, to understand like oral tradition, you kind of have to be steeped in it. You have to go experience it, because I think in the Western world and Western traditions, we're very removed from orality and how stories are told and passed down, that and we're much more kind of steeped in written word. So we kind of
it's really difficult to conceptualize the difference. Yeah.
And I feel like I'm really lucky because I was kind of in both worlds growing up, where I was a huge book nerd growing up, but also I'd be at ceremony and I hear stories from elders and get to sit at their feet and listen to these stories. So I kind of got the best of both worlds. And
you also got defense against the sun in the process. Like it sounds like a big win.
Look, sunscreen is important. It's
as somebody who's just third, fourth generation
evil
colonizer with literally nothing more that I can look back on except that my family apparently landed in quote unquote Canada in the 1700s. You know, we just don't have a lot, so I respect that.
Get some SPF 50, just slather it on you. I should be wearing some. I have a window right there.
I look really Mediterranean when I get a bit of a color, you know. I can hide the level of like colonial white lady that I am.
But skin cancer can kill you.
Yeah.
So we don't actually know at all what these stories were, because we weren't there. We didn't get to hear the Iodoi sing these songs and actually hear which things are concrete and which things are not. Because the thing with like the stories is we read the Iliad now and we say, oh, this thing is this and that is fact, like
this is in the Iliad and this is not, like our concrete things we can say and conceptualize now.
But how do we know this was actually something that was part of the story versus something that could be moved around and be more interchangeable with other details? So let alone what ended up in the final result that was recorded, for historical purposes, like, because like they could have been these things could have been shifting and changing per audience, but then also on top of all of that we have like when the Athenians wrote it down, like what the fuck were they doing with it, and what ended up in our version today that we can't separate. Yeah, but they might have been like, well, Athens is more important, like we're gonna change this or whatever. And what is the motive? Why is this detail important versus why is it not? So like these are the things with about orality and oral tradition. So like I know they've done studies on people in like closer to the Mediterranean. I don't remember where right now, but they've gone and listened to oral storytellers who can hold these really intense, long stories like that are as long as the Iliad and the Odyssey in their brain, and they try to understand why, and it's because of things that we see in the text, such as like certain set phrases, these things. The similes always get me as a good example for that. Like the volume of similes. Epithet. Just as this guy did all of these things a bazillion years ago, then just so Achilles fought a river. Hos fato anax agamemnon andron, and then he goes on. It's like, thus says
We get it.
Agamemnon, lord of whatever. Okay, but it's the set
No,
phrases
I'm
that they
being
can.
a bitch. I'm just so jealous that you know so much ancient Greek off the top of your head.
So there's set phrases that like these poets don't have to think about. Like
Yeah.
there are things that you can just say and it fills space so that your brain has time to think up the story as you're going along. Epithets are in that. Set phrases, like I said, little tidbits that are just,
Do you?
you'll read the Iliad and you'll be like, why was that important? And it wasn't. It
Yeah.
was important for the poet so that they had time to actually think of what they were going to say next and throw it in.
Do you
And
think that those are equivalent to like what I just did?
like
To like
yeah.
to like oh
Yeah.
I
And
love that idea.
yeah, it's just, it holds space so that your
Yeah.
brain can have time.
Yeah.
And so likely also, there are set plot points that have to happen in each story. So certain things, like maybe Patroclus always has to die, or maybe not Patroclus always has to die, but something has to happen to Patroclus so that Achilles goes crazy.
Yeah.
Because this is a story about Manon.
The rage of Achilles.
Yeah. We need Achilles to go bonkers. We need Achilles to be pulled out of the war. We need something to pull him back in. This person has to die. But how it happens, who does it, sort of those little details, those are a bit more flexible. And you can change versus which audience you have. So, if you're going to be in maybe you're in Ionia, along the Ionian coast, in the,
Asia Minor, Anatolia, modern
Asia
Turkey.
Minor. Thank you so much. Maybe you're there, and those people, you're closer to where Troy may have actually been, or the Trojans may have actually been. You don't want to be going in there, and you don't want to be, you want to be making a story that's more accessible that they would like more. So
they're not on the. You're not
more,
going to like amp up all the Achaeans because
Yeah.
you're going to be more interested in like amping up the Troad or whatever.
Because that's where you are. These are the people.
Yeah.
They're going to be all like, "Yay, woo, that's us." Versus you go on into the Peloponnese, and suddenly you're just like, "Whoa, yeah, go Achaeans, hell yeah, look at them going. They're so powerful. Those evil others, like there's things. It's nebulous."
Yeah.
And things change, and that's why we have so many different
It's
things.
contextual. I love that. Yeah, like it is entirely based on the context of when something is being performed, but the performer too is such an interesting thing to think about. Yeah. but like I'm thinking more of the performer on their internal side. Like, yes, their performance, they would want to do all these things for the audience, but also just on a personal level of the performer. Like, it reminds me, I did the Q&A I did earlier this week at the time of recording this. Someone asked me about translations and like just how much can a translation alter the work itself, and it's like completely, and also not at all, and also a little bit here or there maybe, or whatever, but like every single thing about a translation, because it is the same as a person reading the text originally. Like everything about a human being taking in a story, a work of art, is completely contextualized. It is based in but everything personal about them, about their preferences, or the way their brain works, like all of these different things that would apply to like the storytelling process in the first place, let alone as it all came down to us later.
And there is, at least in my opinion, I think there is no way for people to remove bias when they are writing things or interacting with things or retelling things.
It's why I think AI is terrifying. Like people want, terrifying bullshit, fucking absolutely we should not be giving it any time, but also like even if it wasn't all of those things, it's why I think that AI like will literally never reach any kind of real artistic anything. Like it will never mirror anything about the ancient world, say, specifically, because every single thing is so inherently tied to it being interpreted by a human fucking being.
Yeah.
Anyway, down with the robots.
So it's also important to know who is your performer. And like I think like there was probably famous poets or the Iodor. These are the Iodos is
The bards,
yeah, he's the bard. He's the one who was singing.
Yeah.
And telling the story. And I bet there was famous ones where they're like, oh, have you seen this guy's, have you seen Megacles' performance of this thing versus have you seen, I can't think of any other names.
Homer. Let's pretend he was just one of them.
Have we seen like he always does it like this, and that guy always has this point of view, and I really like the way this guy presents these aspects of the way he talks about nature and his things. Like, oh, I love the nature imagery. Every performer would have their own bias, and it would also seep into their performance no matter where they were. They could be tailoring it to their individual audience, but they could also still be having their personal touch in it, which is important. And then the other thing of it all is the meter. It was done in a specific meter. It's called dactylic hexameter. It was 6 units of long, short, short. The last unit would be 2 syllables. And the meter is actually incredibly helpful for the poets because it gives them a structure to exist within, to tell the story, and it's very rhythmic, and you can hear it, and you really, I can't do it in the Greek. I'm very bad at it. Oh, look at you.
Can I try some?
Yeah, go for it.
Because I picked up, so I recently found a couple of lobes, which just to the listeners have the Greek on one side and the English on the other, which is so fun. But I figured out that the person who had it before, they'd scanned a little bit, not like just little bits of it here and there. So I could I know, but they did it. Well, no, it's great because they did it for me. I'm never gonna do it. And they did the first line. So, andra moyenepe musa polytropon hos malapola. I probably didn't do that great with the actual.
Hos malapola.
Hos malapola.
Hos? And
with
that's
yeah. Andra
relative
moy enepe musa. So, oh god, I'm not even try. But polytropon is one of my favorite words.
It's This is always the
polytropon.
Polyflusbos. How about that?
Okay. Polytropon.
Polyflobos is a word my Greek professor said to me, you don't ever have to remember this, and now I can't forget it.
Many.
It's an onomatopoeia for one.
An ancient onomatopoeia.
Yes. It describes the sea, so like Polyphilopos thalassa. And it basically like loud thundering, loud roaring. It's that like it's when during a sea storm that whoosh, it's kind of bit. That's what that is, and I think it only appears in Homer. Yeah, and so there's no reason to remember it, and yet I can never forget it. Polyflosbos, I love it.
Well, that's like polytropon, I think, is one of those ones that I don't think it probably appears in too many places because it's so specific to Odysseus.
Yeah, it's the complicated, it's the...
Yeah, but it came up in the Q&A I did because it's like, over the years it's been, I think the clearest like literal translation of it would be, there was 2 different, I forget who did which, but like one did polytropon as many ways.
Yeah.
And also many turns. And so like they're both like literal translations, but they don't really mean anything in English. And so that's why it's to me more interesting that then Emily Wilson did the complicated, which is
it's one of those things. It is like we were saying with the arete and whatnot.
It's a word that it does not have it doesn't have an English equivalent. So you will always have to have your like the translators inherent humanity, their whatever bias you want to associate, but it's just like the nature of being a person, will always have to come in because a word like that just does not have an English equivalent. The men got so mad when she said complicated because they like put some kind of negative association with it. But like,
That
word
sounds like
complicated
them.
does not have to have a negative association. Like, it literally, okay, it's like, oh, you don't like complicated, but a man of many turns would be better. Like, which one means more in English? Spoilers, it's complicated. Because polytropon is a complicated goddamn word.
Why can't I find it in my dictionary? Where am I? Poy.
Poly.
I know. Palm.
Okay.
Okay, wait, but palm. Where is lambda? I'll do this later. That's the thing about what I really do like about our two Homeric texts is the first word tells you everything you need to know about the story, right?
Yeah.
It's in the Odyssey, andron, man. This is what the story is about, man. And Iliad, Manon, rage.
Right,
this is what it is, that rage, it is that wrath, it is that uncontrollable sort of you can't, it's that emotion. It's
Mhm.
I love rage for it. That's my favorite one for it. But anyways,
yeah.
back to more Homer. Oh, where was I? So we know that these stories existed all over the Greek mainland. It existed all over the Aegean. It existed all over the Near East and beyond.
Yeah.
People,
The Greeks were not
around.
the first doing it.
No. People moving. I love orality, and I love following myths and stories and finding the little tidbits that connect, because I love that idea of going to a new place and someone tells you a story.
Yeah.
And the what about it connect like hits your heart, because stories are so human, and it's not in the details, but it's in the sort of the wash that's underneath of the what is that touches you and makes you go, oh, that reminds me of this, or that feels like home, like. And people were doing this. It's where it's like it gets complicated. Now we have really complicated things about like original intellectual theft, or
copyright broadly.
Or a lot of people talk about like appropriation. They're like, oh, they took this from this thing, and I'm like, and then they'll say that about like antiquity too, where I've seen people say things like, oh, like the Epic of Gilgamesh doesn't get enough credit, and these people were just like appropriating from that, and I'm like, you got to stop there. You got like,
there's a really big difference between appropriation and inspiration.
And what we're seeing is people moving and connecting with each other, and that is really wonderful. And in a way that they are connecting with each other through story. They're going, oh, let me tell you this epic about my thing, and then they hear that, and there's a part of it that really rings true. And so when they go and they tell a new story to their family member or their community, they bring a little piece of that in. And that fills my heart with warmth, because it's so human. And I think me coming from such an oral culture too, where that was such a big part of my growing up, and why I fell in love with Greek myths is, my sister found a book of Greek myths, and I remember sitting on her bedroom floor, and she was standing on her bed, and she was telling me these stories about the story I remember the most was her telling me the story of Perseus, and that's only because Perseus's mom's name is Danae. My sister is Danae. That's my sister's name, and I just remember her telling me the story in the way that our elders told us stories, and that is what got me so excited, because I was like, oh my god, I understand this. And it feels familiar and like home, and there's bits of it that ring true to me. And
well, to me, that's the most human thing about it too. It's why I love the ancient Greek world. Like, I didn't grow up with that storytelling aspect, but like, to me, all of those things and the way that people still use it today, like, that's what makes it so human. And again, why I use it also as an example to like fucking hate on AI, because we'll just literally never have that humanity that is what makes this stuff good. It's what makes it interesting. It's that it's being interpreted by humans.
And I think that's the really lovely thing about Homer, and when you really gotta kind of sink your teeth into, is understanding and kind of letting the canon of it drop away. The texts that we have, okay, this is what was written down, but where did this come from? And then you also have to, I was saying earlier how this was sort of like a history for them. It was how they understood their place within the wider Mediterranean. Why is that? Okay, so now we're seeing that human connection that these people had, especially the earlier periods. Not so much classical and later, like, society changes, but like having that that connection and that heart in it, and then you see why it was important to people and why it stuck around.
It just reminds me of when we did the Bronze Age episode, because that came up, or episodes, because that came up so much of like the way that like the Homeric tradition was their history, and the way they used it to connect with their past, even when that past, we know archaeologically speaking, like did not have those connections to the story of the Iliad, but that doesn't change anything about the way that the individual people of the ancient world used it as a way to connect with their history.
And I find Greece especially interesting in that aspect because you have the early Iron Age, right, where there is, in Greece generally, there is such loss that I think is not seen elsewhere in the Mediterranean.
And they had like a full language shift.
Because like Linear B is still Greek, but it's with syllabic scripts, and then they get the Phoenician writing, and that changes into the Greek that we know. But it's
gonna say, I just want to, because I think that these days I can't hear anything without making the connection. So I just want to remind all of the listeners that Lebanon, the ancient people of Lebanon, gave us as a Western world, they gave us the alphabet. They gave, like, literally, there would not be English, there would not be our letters today if it weren't for the people of ancient Lebanon, and the idea of calling it Greater Israel just because the West wants to is fucking hot nonsense. Oh my God, Israel has bombed Lebanon so many times in our lifetime, let alone in the last 100 years, and I just think I need us all to remember that when we say Phoenician, we mean Lebanon. Tyre, the home of the ancient Phoenicians and the alphabet, and Cadmus and everybody in between Lebanon. Israel bombed Tyre, and I need you all to know that, because we need to be just okay. Sorry, the world's great. So the West is awesome.
Like the collapse hit the entire Mediterranean. But I think I find it especially interesting to think of Homer and the collapse in the Bronze Age and sort of that period, because Greece was hit very hard, and
Gaza was not, which is on all of the maps of the Bronze Age collapse, just because I've already gone there. Just everyone, you want to Google a map of the Bronze Age collapse, you want to know one of the most ancient words on there, it's Gaza. Keep going.
And so, like, it's when you have such a collapse that happens, you get almost sort of like culturally disconnected, and to the point where they couldn't understand, how did the people we came from build these things, because we can't do that anymore.
So there's this big disconnect in Greece.
So then you have these stories that talk about, oh, look at these things that our people did, like we battled this huge war with people across the waters, and we won. And it's like, it becomes a thing where you go, oh, this is our history. It connects you to your land and your space in a way. And there's always the big question, like, did a Trojan War happen? And I think there was war.
A war. Yeah. Nothing to that degree.
No,
but there was
no 10-year war.
No, exactly. The gods were not involved. Spoilers. Sorry to break it to you.
But it just, it connects you to yourself, and it creates culture, and it creates community. And another way that this happens is through family groups. So, like, I think of like the Spartan kings, who were the Heraclidae, right? Like their two family lines. They had the dual kings. Each family line was from one of two of Heracles' sons, and that was their claim to their standing within their community. Is, oh yeah, we can have this power. Our family can have this power because we're the sons of Heracles. Like, of course we should have this. And so that becomes really important, is people find ways to tie themselves and their families to characters from the past. And if we even go all the way to like fucking Rome, man, like who is the eventual emperor? The eventual He was a king. I have all these qualms about Rome, and all I'm going to say is they fucking hated kings, and yet they had them, and Augustus was just a king in a different name, and I don't care what anyone says. That's what... Anyways.
But please, this is not the time for me to get into this rant, but I haven't had a chance to talk to you about it, but I saw Gladiator 2, and I need you to know that they call him the Prince of Rome.
I would like you to know I haven't seen it yet.
Great. Well, they call somebody the Prince of Rome as a good thing, as a like this long live like the true Prince of Rome kind of thing.
Well, and I think because it's Caracalla and Geta,
yeah, but they are not the princes of Rome. I won't spoil the rest, but like
that's so much later in like that's what 3rd century I think.
Yeah.
So it's like
also Caracalla and Geta, who are the children of a Syrian and a Tunisian, or rather Libyan. Sorry. Syrian and a Libyan are the whitest boys from quite Britain. They're the palest of the lily white. Anyway,
God, I love it.
Also, there were great whites in the Colosseum. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Great whites, not just sharks, Michaela. So that was where my two passions came together. Because if there's anything I love, yes, exactly. If there's anything I love as much as antiquity, it's sharks.
Yeah.
And when I tell you I saw great whites in there, and I said, it would be silly to have. I mean, it would be absurd to have any sharks in the Colosseum. But the idea of picking the one species of sharks that to this day, in the year of our bullshit captivity. 2024, we have never had a great white kept in captivity. But oh no, but please, they put them in the fucking Colosseum.
I'm so curious. We haven't figured out why. It just never works.
They're too big and awesome.
I mean, certainly can't be in the whales in we've kept whales in captivity.
Yeah, but they're mammals. They're easier to predict.
I know. Anyways, science is fascinating. It makes me very happy, and so I'll continually ingest things from scientists, but I will not do the research myself.
The thing you will learn from scientists, and I can tell you right now as a non-scientist, they didn't have great whites in the Colosseum. Sorry.
I know. But I want there to be. Look, I don't need Gladiator 2 to be accurate. I need it to be campy. I need it to be ridiculous.
No, it was very enjoyable. I could talk to you about it more, but I'll never get over the great whites in the Colosseum. That's all.
We can have fun.
Also, the fact that everything was just so fucking white. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's just media, though. Like,
no, but it was that they also, again, nobody can figure out that to put color on ancient Rome. That's all.
Oh, yeah.
Not even the people. Yeah, I just mean the complete lack of polychromy.
The polychromy.
I know,
is
same.
So pretty. Oh, yeah. So you went to the thing at the Met, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you? I hate you. I hate you. I'm so jealous. We were talking about family ties. Yeah, like people do this.
Sorry, I brought us so off track.
Where am I? Oh my God!
This is all my fault.
Okay, so here we go. Like on Chios himself, the island, there was a family group called the Homeridae who claimed descent from Homer. It's a way that aristocratic families use to explain their position within the world, and I'm absolutely certain this happens all around the world today. It's just like I'm from this.
Well, think about the way Americans hold on to the idea of being like, my family was on the Mayflower or something stupid, right?
I like the my great grandmother was a Cherokee princess, and I'm like, we didn't have those, but okay.
Okay, Rome didn't have kings either, but
they did. The amount of rage I feel about that, they're like, no, it's not, and I'm like, what do you call the one? And then they call him, what's it? This is me just being I haven't been in the Roman mindset for a while. Delightfully, it's still fun though. But one of the names, it means like the first among men. I'm like, what is that? But a king, you motherfucker.
Well, Alexandros means like defender of men, but it's not a king. So,
But that's just a name.
Well, yeah, but
it's just the name. Philip loves horses.
Right. Naturally.
And then my favorite city in antiquity, Philippopolis.
Philippopolis. Horse lover. Horses? Horse love? Horse more? No, less.
Oh,
horses.
the city of Philip.
Oh, got it. Just the
This
city of
Philip
horse
city.
loving Philip, though. If you want to go deep.
Bucephalus had its own
Phil-
city. Bucephalus, I think, something like
I
that.
need everyone to know that I have been playing The Sims, and if you get a horse, one of the auto-generated names, one of the only ones that is not like some silly horse name, is Bucephalus. And I was like, that is a joke for a very select few people, and I support you, Sims.
I love this.
Thank you. I had to go tell Dina, and I was like, you didn't get this joke, but FYI, I was there. It was pretty funny.
So I'll give my gift to
Great.
everyone.
I think this episode was your
reason.
gift to me because it's utterly unhinged.
It's all Homer.
Entirely my fault.
It's just thinking about orality and oral tradition and what Homer means to the people of Greece, and ending with this nice little, it's how people made ties and explained their positions in society. And all this is because I found one bit of information that came from one old classical dictionary of names that I cannot find its source for, so I cannot speak to this actual credibility, but I would like to believe in my heart that it's true. So there's my caveat. This comes from an old source,
I'm so excited.
but I love it so much.
I'm ready.
That I don't care.
I'm ready. I support you.
So, as Liv knows, and you all are about to find out now, I have an immense love for the Alcmaeonidae. They are my favorite family.
Can you explain that more?
The
You're using deep Greek
Alcmaeonidae
words. Thank you.
Are a group of aristocrats in Attica and the Peloponnese. They had members such as
children of
Alcmaeus.
Alcmaeus,
okay. Something like that. Yeah.
Right.
And it's Pericles was an Alcmaeonidae.
Oh, got it. I was expecting it to only be Alcibiades.
No, Alcibiades is an Alcmaeonidae.
Yeah. Pericles too, and Cleisthenes.
Oh yeah, Pericles was. Oh, we'll get there. I'll tell you after. I won't tell you right now. I'll tell you. My best disaster boy, number one disaster boy, Alcibiades. He's an Alcmaeonidae, and the Alcmaeonidae claim they come from the family of the Nelladai, who stem from Neleus,
Yeah,
who was the father of Nestor.
Oh wow, they're going all the way. I was gonna say that's coming. I can tell it's Neleus, and I was gonna forget who, of course, but of course he's the father of Nestor.
So they claim descent from Nestor.
That's a fucking stretch, guys. That's a stretch. And
I love the implications of that.
I just think that who do I claim to be descendant from? Aspasia. Let's go with her.
You want to be Aspasia? Who do I want?
I would like to be claimed to be descendant of Aspasia. Not Pericles as the dad though. Somebody else. I don't love his brainchild. It's not worked out well.
It's complicated. I'm still trying to think, who would I be? I'm from.
I think that maybe you would be a descendant from
no,
or at least from the Alcmaeonidae.
Chaos. It might, just maybe. I love that man. But anyway, they say they come from Nestor. The long line of Nestor ends with Alcibiades.
Poor Nestor.
This would be so much funnier once I finish all the other Alcmaeonidae episodes.
Yeah. Well, the point is, guys, that it's a fucking hot mess. So the idea of just having a hot mess family descended from Nestor is kind of rude because he was pretty objectively okay.
I will say, I don't think the whole family is a hot mess. I think Alcibiades is the end result. He's the hot mess. This is what happens when you have the
hottest of the messes.
Oh hell yeah. This is what happens when you have too much, you have it too easy in life. No, it's just too easy in life. You get Alcibiades.
Yeah. But those two things are tied.
Yeah,
having power and having it too easy in life.
Yeah, because the Alcmaeonidae, I will say, huge family in Athenian history, and they're really interesting, and they do a lot of things, and they're just utterly fascinating, and they always. I mean, we'll get more into it later in another episode, but they always are blamed for when things go wrong in Athens, which I find fascinating.
I mean, me too, but only I know so little. I only know that part of that is that Alcibiades didn't actually go around and chip off all the dicks of all the Herms, and that's too bad. because I like that claim.
Yeah. Well, I think that is the end of a very long history. They
Yeah.
like even before all of that, like they were
The idea that your
constantly
family's very long history ends with you being accused of chipping all the dicks off the Herms in Athens is like pretty great.
defecting twice, attempting an oligarchic coup, you
He
know.
was a wild guy.
I
That
love him.
Sicily expedition went so well for him. It went
He
so well
didn't
for the
even
Athenians.
get there. He didn't even get there. Okay.
It's a famously successful expedition.
I love it so much. It makes me so happy.
Well, I don't know, honestly, like I can say these things with confidence, but only because I know these like little bits and pieces. So
Yeah.
I'm quite excited to actually learn the details, because I really leave it to other people to teach me the history stuff so that I can like live in the mythology, and I'm ready.
Yeah. We'll go chronologically from the beginning. And when we'll get to the end,
are we going to begin with Neleus?
No, you can do Neleus.
All right.
What does he even do? I can't even. He had a son.
He doesn't come up as anything except that, like, historically they say I think he was in another big war, but it's really just that it's Nestor, son of Neleus, like throughout the Iliad.
He had a son.
Yeah,
that was literally his claim to fame.
It's Neleus's claim to fame was that he was Nestor's father. I think for the most part.
Good for him. Good for him. Ta-da! There you go. Homer, that ends with the Alcmaeonidae.
Oh, I'm excited. I am excited. Well, listeners, slowly but surely, these episodes will become, I won't say less unhinged, because I think that this is the fun way, but I will be better prepared to keep myself on track as we keep going.
We'll figure out a good time to record.
Yeah, we're still learning this whole new time zone thing, and I'm still learning to get into a space where my brain wants to sound smart, because it just turns out that sometimes it's really fun to live in a realm where you don't have to be intelligent at all.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, I feel like I just need a little bit of that for a little while.
Honestly, same.
But in the meantime, oh my god, the oral tradition is one of my favorite things, and I'm so excited for you to tell me all about this fucking family, not least because I'm excited for you to get to feature your guy, because he's so funny.
He is my favorite, and one day I'll get my back piece of him done, and it will be beautiful. and people will go, why? And I'll go, why not? What do you mean, why?
Why not?
I have a flaming chicken on my arm, man. Did you think I'd do anything? Like, come on.
I have a classic heart with a banner that just says Aragorn. Sometimes we just need to have fun.
Sometimes you just gotta get a silly tattoo because it makes you so happy.
Sometimes you just gotta put extra love of Aragorn. I realized recently that it's like just so directly next to my like enormous side piece of the hilt of Narsil too, and I was like, wow, like you just went hard for this man. No regrets.
Just commit.
Aragorn's worth it.
I understand. I didn't love him when I was younger, I'll say that.
Oh no, neither, because I was young and thought
Legolas.
Yeah, and then yeah, exactly.
And my mom turned to me and she looked and she go, you will grow up and you will understand why
your mom
love Aragorn.
Right.
She was right. I remember watching it as an adult and I was like, oh shit, Nancy was right again. Why is this woman consistently right? Ugh.
It's almost like when you're young, older people tell you that you'll understand more when you're older, and that's like the most fucking infuriating thing to hear when you're young, and then you keep getting old and you're like, oh, it was completely true.
My mother was right. She did the same thing with Buffy. I said Angel and she went, no, Michaela, Spike. No. You'll understand. Now I'm older and I'm like, oh, I understand.
I don't know. I didn't go full Spike. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm not there.
I get it. I get it. Anyways,
thank you all to the listeners for listening to this. This is we are truly, I mean, December is a wild enough time without us both. Michaela's just been in finals. I just moved across the country and I'm trying to be intelligent again. And sometimes we just gotta rant and ramble about our favorite topics, and that's what the oral tradition is, because it's the fucking best. I honestly could hear and or talk about it forever. Yeah. It's endless. So I'm going to finish this off with, again, me trying to read the first line of the Odyssey because it feels cool.
All right,
Andra moi emepe musa polytropon hos malapola. And I know I do not know the meter very well, but I still want to try.
I'll give you the Iliad.
Do it. Do it.
Menin aide thea peliadio achilleus, ulumenen he muria chaios algeathe ke polaste ifthimus suchas haidi proiapsin heron autoste aloria te uche kenusin, oinoisi te pasi, dios te etileto bule.
Wowza. You went a little further. Well, now,
yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to try. I just looked at a couple of them and I'm like, oh. I know that now, right? Your brain, I do need a little bit more time to sound those out. Yeah. I've not been learning like Michaela.
Fair, I've been going through the Iliad so much, so you know. Thus it ends with.
Well, and mine is reading with just being physically able to pronounce them, not because I like actually know the words. So we're getting there.
I just went to the end. Thus the plan of Zeus was completed.
Dun dun. Thank you all for listening. Let's talk about Miss Maybe was written and produced, not written and produced by me. That's just what I say. Michaela wrote this shit. And I don't need to read the rest of the credits. Thank you all so fucking much for listening. Select music in this episode was by Luke Chaos. I don't know. Tell your friends. I am Liv and I love this shit. And Michaela.
I am Michaela, and I'm here too, and don't know how this became my thing.
We have to come up with a better one, but until then, it's hilarious.